Good morning. I'm back with my Susie Edge mug today. I love this mug. I've used it almost every day. My name is Melinda. Welcome to Web of Stories. Past couple weeks, I've done a weekly vlog as sort of my wrap up. I decided to just do a regular wrap up this week because based on what I was reading and what I expected to finish, I didn't think I'd have a lot to share during the week. And that was kind of way it panned out. So we're just going to do a regular wrap up this week. And let me start with apologies. I have a big apology right now. A big apology and then one you've heard a million times. The big apology right now is you may hear some like zooming weird noises. This weekend is the Oregon International Air Show, which is like a mile from my house. And right now all the planes are flying in. I was gonna do this outside because it's beautiful right now. There's a plane coming right now. But it was just too noisy. So we're in boring corner. My family is actually going to go see it. My kids and my husband are going to go see it tonight. We have friends who, the man of this couple is a retired pilot. So he used to fly out of the Hillsborough airport. He's retired, but he still has connections with one of the aviation companies there. So, my husband and kids are going to go with them to watch it from the aviation company, which is good because that is a unrealistically expensive event. Let me just say, that's kind of my feelings for it. It's an expensive event. For what you get, it's expensive. That's all I'm going to say. Oh, forgot to turn the volume down on that. Sorry. I am going to stay home because air shows aren't really my thing, but also they're really not Alice's thing, Alice the cat. And in past years, I have had to drug her. It depends on where the planes are coming in because we're on the flight path if they come from a certain direction. And they come from different directions every year, so I don't know how bad it's going to be. I don't want to drug her, but I need to be here in case it gets to that point that I have to. So I'm going to stay home with the cat, which is fine. I'll read. I'm okay with that. So there's that. The other thing, apologize. I am still way behind with videos. And I just wanted to give you all like a little rundown on why sometimes I'll comment on a really recent video and then comment on a video that's like 3 weeks old. The way I organize my videos, so I have a list of videos that I want to make a priority to watch. That's my priority list. And Monday through Thursday, I organize it shortest to longest. I add new videos every morning. I go and I put the new ones in. So, you know, if you have a short video, I'm probably going to see it the day it comes out. On Friday, I switch it so it's longest to shortest. And then on the weekends, I do oldest to newest. So that's why you might get comments from me in a really weird order. But I'm working through it. I'm trying to get caught up. I mean, I'm chipping away at it. So that's what's going on with that. And if you're wondering why I haven't commented on your video, it might just be you had a long video. I'm doing long videos today, so we'll see. This week, well, of course, this week was Mother's Day. And my ideal Mother's Day is to sit on my butt and read and have no one bug me. And I got that this year. So that was excellent. And also, as a gift, I had asked for like a library cart because everybody has a library cart. It's like a thing, you have to have it. And my husband looked at it and he said, that's ugly. I don't like that. And also we have carpet and you're never going to move it. So why do you want this? So I said, we'll find something else. So he found something else. I'm going to put the picture up here. So that is my TBR bookshelf. So I have my TBR bookshelf upstairs, which is all the books, print books I own that I haven't read. The ones on this shelf are the ones that I have actually put on monthly TBRs. If you look closely on that shelf, you'll see some books you haven't seen me talk about yet because I have already done, but I haven't posted my video for Big Book Summer. So my planned books are on there. I think I've done everything else. Like all the Agatha Christie's I plan to read are on there. The other thing you can tell from that video or from that picture is that bookshelf's already almost full. So I need to kind of chip away at that one because that has finite space and I wanted something with finite space. And there you go. It works perfectly. I actually really love it. And there's a little kind of shelf at the bottom and you can kind of see in the picture there's an outlet there. When I finally get my like no plug-in charger thing for the new Kindle, which if you heard my story about the bundle, I don't know when it's coming, but it's going to go right there. So I'll have a nice little place to put that. And then I can also put in a cord to charge my Kobo, so I will have a place to charge my e-readers and not have to go searching for a cord, as long as my kids don't decide to take them, because they do that too. So there. Finally, the other thing to talk about is my no-buy week. This is the last day of my week, and I have not purchased a book all week. Now, that's not to say books haven't come in. Books have come in, but there were ones that I have ordered previously to going no-buy. For example, I got this because I need it for my Shakespeare thing. I ordered that before last Saturday. And so I didn't buy any books this week. My goal is next week not to buy any books. So just as a clarification, my plan with this is to look at it week by week. So this week I said there's no reason for me to buy any books this week, so I'm not going to buy any books. There is no reason for me to buy any books next week, so I'm not going to buy any books. Now, if my calendar is right, I think the week after that is the week that includes the first of the month. I am going to allow myself to select books for my Book of the Month box. That's all I'm going to allow myself to do. There you go. The indie press list from the Currently Reading podcast, their Patreon thing, that is the week after that. I'm going to allow myself to buy up to 2 books from that. And I don't always buy books. Sometimes they just aren't, either I have lots of time. Sometimes it happens that I've read the books that I would be interested in buying, so I don't need to buy them. Sometimes there just aren't books, so I can't even guarantee that I will. So, but next week, this coming week, it's a no-buy week, and I will report back to you all. Next week, I haven't decided yet if I'm going to do a wrap up like this or if I'm going to do a vlog again. We'll see. We will see. The problem with doing a vlog, I actually have some things that I think I'll finish pretty early this week, so I would probably have a lot to talk about, but during the weekend, you'll be hearing airplanes. Oh my God. So, the air show's not my favorite thing. So there is that. So yeah, so that's my week. I did finish 3 books this week, and I will go through them. What I'm not going to do in this video, and I don't think I'm going to do it pretty much from now on, although it may come up if I do a vlog style thing, is I don't think I'm going to go through everything that I'm currently reading. I will, however, put all that down in the description box. There's just some things, I think I just want to wait till I'm done reading something to really say anything about it. There have been times where I have a book has started out being fantastic, and I'll say, oh, I love this book, this is wonderful, and the next week I'm like, eh. Or vice versa. I also have some buddy reads and some things like that. And I want to talk with the people who I'm buddy reading or whatever first before I talk about it. So I'll just do my current reads down there. One quick exception, Bandit Queens. So that read along has started. You can join me. Well, there's 2 places going, but there's a third option. I do have a buddy read going on Storygraph. I believe I can still invite people to it. So if you want to join that, please message me down below or Instagram message or whatever. All my contact information is down below. It is also in the end card of the video. Just let me know what your Storygraph handle is, and then I will friend you and I will send you an invitation to that. Option 2 is on my Discord. You can just join the Discord, and there's a thread right there for the Bandit Queens. And the third option, which isn't going right now, but I'm happy to start it if anybody wants to, is to do a Voxer chat. Again, just let me know if you are interested in doing that. So that's the only currently reading thing I'm going to touch on. So let me go to the 3 books that I finished, and I actually have quite a bit to say about them. And I'm going to start with Shirley. This is not the copy I read. I read the Penguin Classics version in ebook format, which this kind of brings something up because I really thought that when I was between my junior and senior year in college, I did a summer term at Cambridge with William and Mary. They taught, it was William and Mary professors who taught it, but we were at Cambridge, and one of the classes was on the Brontes. And I really thought we discussed this class, but I looked at the book and I bought this there at the Haworth parsonage, the Bronte parsonage in Haworth. So we wouldn't have done it because anything that we discussed in that class, we bought the books in the United States, and they were all Penguin Classics, and brought them over. So am I dreaming that we read this book. Because if I ended up reading it on my own back then, and I do know I read it, I want to say, so there's two scenarios here because I remembered nothing about this book. So scenario one is if we did read it in the class, which now I don't think we did. I was just Bronte'd out by the time we got to it. And so it didn't stick with me because I do remember we read Villette. So option two is we didn't, and I read this on my own, which means I was also probably a little Bronte'd out, but I also didn't have the experience of discussing it in a classroom setting, which is interesting because one of my reasons of rereading these is to read them for myself because I had previously read them in a classroom setting. So I don't know. I started this as a buddy read with Nicole at Noteworthy Fiction. This book was not working for Nicole, and I completely understand why. Nicole's got a lot going on in her life. She's moving. You can watch her channel and see it all. It's nothing bad. It's just busy. And this is a book that really took a lot of attention. So if I were in her position, I would have bowed out too. I, however, did finish it. So my experience reading this book, about the first, I'm going to guess like 200 pages. So because I read the ebook and it was the Penguin classic ebook, so it had like a foreword and it had notes and all this, it gave me a percentage, but the percentage was never accurate. I'm going to guess about first 200 pages of this book. Nothing happens. Nothing happens. One thing I did notice though, is I had remembered thinking that this was Charlotte Brontë wanting to be like Jane Austen. And when I started reading it this time, I'm like, this is not like Jane Austen. This is like Elizabeth Gaskell. And Nicole agreed. It was like Elizabeth Gaskell. By the end of the book, it felt like Jane Austen. So I think that's where I got the Jane Austen thing. But anyway, the first 20 pages, nothing happens. This is the story of two young women, Caroline and Shirley, and they are neighbors. They're about the same age. Caroline is orphaned. She lives with her uncle, who is the vicar or rector or something. I think he's a rector because there's some vicars in it who apparently are nothing but, I don't know why they're there. There's very superfluous characters. But he's kind of like, he's one of these people who's very charming to everybody. And it's not that he's mean to her. He's just kind of emotionally absent from her. So there's Caroline. You know, her father died. Her mother just, everyone told her she died and disappeared. There, hint, sorry. And then there's Caroline, who comes in a little bit later. She moves into the big estate kind of next door, and she's a young heiress, and she's also an orphan. She's 18 years old, so she's just sort of come into her own, and she's just got to do her thing. And they become fast friends. I knew going into this, because I know a lot about the Brontes, that Caroline is based on Emily, and Caroline is based on Anne, and Shirley is based on Emily. I knew that going in, so I kind of knew what to expect. I also knew that while Charlotte Brontë was writing this book, her three remaining siblings died. So her brother Branwell and then her sisters Emily and Anne all died while she was writing Shirley. So I know there's a lot of that going on. Now, Charlotte Bronte's best friend Ellen Nussey said that she didn't think that there was any Emily in Shirley, but she also said that she thought Carolyn was her. So I don't know. I still think it's Emily and Anne. Once we get Shirley, because Caroline's a fun character, but she's fine. Not fun. She's fine. She's like Jane Eyre, but without as much spirit. It's probably the best way to describe her. And then you get Shirley, who's all spirit, but she's not at all like Jane Eyre. She's just all spirit. And there are times, she's kind of annoying at sometimes, but sometimes you just want to stand up and cheer her on because she's awesome. So she kind of vacillates between those two. Once Shirley comes on the picture, the book does pick up. And there is, once I got to there, I was like, okay, now I'm looking forward to reading this. Now I see a story going through. The best parts of this book are like the times that Shirley just lets men have it. That's it. Honestly, it was a little bit predictable. I was worried there would be a love triangle. There's a very wobbly kind of vague love triangle. It's nothing bad. Even for me, I hate love triangles, but whatever. So it was fine. But I do understand why Nicole said this was not the right time for her, because this book really took a lot of my concentration. Now, I was talking about this book with Bookish Best Friend last weekend, and I was telling her, well, you know, this, because this was Emily and this was Anna, and this was going on. And she's like, okay, if I need to know all that information going into this book, this isn't a good book. And I was like, you're right. You're right. I don't know how successful this book is if you don't know all about the Brontes. She does make some jabs at Jane Austen in here, which was a little weird. But anyway, so yes, this is definitely, if you're really into the Brontes, I would say go ahead and read it. I did think it was better than Villette. It's told in third person, and that was something that Nicole and I did discuss. It's sort of told in third person, like it's told in third person, but third person is a person, and sometimes they go into first person, which is really weird. Not as weird as some of the crap in Villette. But yeah, so it was, I didn't know how to grade this book. So I actually went in and used the compile formula to do it. I have the spreadsheet, the reading log spreadsheet from currently reading, and they have a calculator for compile in there. And it came up as a 3-star, so a B, which is what I'm giving it. I mean, it's B for me, but I think overall, sort of objectively, I would give it a C+. Because I went in with all the knowledge about the Brontes, it worked a little bit better for me. I don't know. I'm still holding really tightly to my Charlotte Bronte's overrated. Jane Eyre is great, but Charlotte Bronte's overrated. Go read Ye and Bronte. And in my last vlog, I talked about maybe doing a Bronte event, and I'm kind of looking at marching on the moors, just because I don't think there's a lot going on in March. There's March of the Mammoths, yes. I can't remember what else is going on in March, so there's nothing that's like that. So we might march on the moors next year. Stay tuned. Okay, so the next book I finished, the next 2 books I finished are both A+ books, so that's good. The first one is Liliana's Invincible Summer by Cristina Rivera Garza. I mentioned how I came across this book last week, but again, Michael Clark, who's a commenter, I was talking about How to Say Babylon, and he said that he looked back at his books that he's read this year, and his 2 best books were How to Say Babylon and this one, and I immediately put it on hold. I didn't know what it was about. I was like, boom, hold, that's it. And it came in, and between the time that I put it on hold, and it was in at the library, so it was just a matter of them pulling it off the shelves to give it to me. So it was like 2 days to get it, right? And the time it took between me putting it on hold and me picking it up, it won the Pulitzer Prize for Best Memoir. So there was like no one waiting for it, and now there's like 20 people waiting for it, which means I have to turn it in, which is a little bit of an issue because my library is across the street from the airport where the air show is going on, and I know they're doing road closures. So I may have to swing by a branch library and drop this off. I did want to keep it long enough for this video. This is such an interesting book. I loved it. I gave it an A+. I do think some people might have problems for it if they're really invested in having sort of a typical memoir, because this is not a typical memoir. This is kind of like a true crime / investigative journalism / memoir about someone else, if that makes any sense. So in 1990, Cristina Rivera Garza's sister, Liliana, was murdered. Now, there is no question about who murdered. We know who murdered her, and it was her ex-boyfriend, Angel. And he was never brought to account for it because 2 things kind of happened. One is he just disappeared. He went into hiding. And 2, there came a point where the police kind of went to Liliana's family and said, if you want us to continue investigating, you need to pay up. That's just kind of how that worked in Mexico. So this, because we're now like I want to say like 2019, 2020, and Cristina decides she wants to go and try and reopen the case for her sister. Again, we know who did it. We know what happens. There's not a mystery element to this, but she wants that person to be held accountable for it because now at this point, maybe they can find them because we're, almost 30 years later. So we start with, now it's interesting because this book is told in different ways in different parts. So we start with the author. She's from Mexico, but she lives in Texas now. She is a professor at, University of Houston. She teaches, what does she teach? Creative writing in Spanish at the University of Houston. So she leaves Texas, goes back to Mexico to try to start opening the case. So we go a little bit into what she has to do with that, which is not easy. It reminded me a little bit of a book that I am reading right now and a podcast that I'm listening to. They go together. It's called The Sicilian Inheritance, about trying to find something out, but that's neither here nor there. So we start going with that. And then she is able to get access to her sister's papers, her letters. Liliana was a big letter writer. She kept notebooks. They never call them journals because they're a little bit more haphazard than that. They're more notebooks. So she's able to see things in her sister's eyes. And then she goes and she interviews some of her friends who were friends at the time. And those interviews are put in, boom, right there, like right in there. And I thought that was really interesting to hear from other people who were really in her life at the time, because at the time this happened, the author was already living in Texas and their parents were in Europe. They finally, well, her father had been in Sweden getting a PhD, and then her mother finally got the chance to go to Europe. So we're able to build this world around Liliana, then what happens to her. And it's not one of those, like, you see it coming a million miles away and you know it's coming, because it's not that. It's this young woman who had everything to live for. She had this great group of friends. She had this abusive ex-boyfriend also. She had this great group of friends. She did not live in a way that invited this to happen to her. And I think that's, you know, I know that that's kind of like the first thing people say. Well, what did she do she wasn't careful. What did she do to invite this? Not in any way did she invite it. And there's one point that I thought was really interesting. This is the sentence that's actually in the book. It says, little by little throughout 1990, Liliana's support system began to break down, although she did not lose it entirely. So she is murdered in July 16th, 1990. So my father just called. I'll talk to him later. And I thought it was really interesting. So I read on, okay, her support system's breaking down. So my immediate thing, like, I've just read that sentence and I think, oh, she's being abandoned by all her friends. Something happened. And no, that's not it at all. Her sister's just in Texas. Her parents are kind of out of the country doing their thing. Her friends, she has this great friend group. Her close friend has to take some night classes, so they can't see each other very much. Another friend got a girlfriend and he doesn't see her very much, but they still, you know, see each other, just not to the extent. And it's just that little thing that's just life. It is just life. And that's the opening. And then we get the viewpoint of how her parents felt about it. And then we get hers. And it's just such an interesting reading experience, because in one way, as I said, I think I don't want to say this is true crime. I think that there are some elements that appeal to people who like true crime, especially if you like the true crime that focuses on the victim and not the perpetrator, which this very much does. I mean, we don't go into like on Hell's Life and all this. It's Liliana that we're focused on. But it really is this, even though you're getting these sort of interviews and you're watching the author go through these steps, you start feeling the pain, and it just kind of comes to a crescendo at the end. And it's just beautiful. Really highly recommend this. It's very unique, and I see why it won the Pulitzer. Again, I loved it. It is unique. I'm not sure if it's going to work for everybody, but I would recommend giving it a try and seeing how it works for you. And then finally, for Springathon, this is the one book I've been able to read for Springathon. The Comfort of Crows, A Backyard Year by Margaret Renkl. This is an essay collection. As you know, I'm getting really into reading essay collections of just sort of like observations of her yard and nature and all that. As you see, there's two things to notice. One, I held this up when I started reading it and it was a library copy, and this is clearly not a library copy. I realized very early on that this was a book that I was going to continue reading after I finished reading it. I have a bookmark here that's in the middle, and it's actually at summer week 1. So I have to figure out exactly when, I mean, it's June 21st. I know that, or June 20th, 21st, whatever. But when exactly, how the calendar falls. But then I'm going to start picking this up and just on Sunday night, read the essay that corresponds with that week. So I have more time to meditate on it and kind of digest it, because reading this straight through, while it was a really worthwhile reading experience, it's not the way this book should be read. It's one that really should be kind of read sort of in real time. So you're reading, like, you should read about summer week 1 and the first week of summer, and summer week 2 in the second week of summer, and it will all work out. Now, Margaret Renkl lives in Tennessee, so a lot of these, I mean, obviously a lot of Tennessee, she's from Alabama, a lot of that. I live in Oregon, 2 very different parts of the country, but I still felt that there was enough there, even if, you know, she's talking about birds or something, whatever, that's not in our neighborhood, not in my immediate neighborhood. It still is a nice reminder to go outside and open my eyes and look to see what was around there. So I really liked this book. I really enjoyed it. I think I will enjoy it even more as I continue to read it continually as time goes on, starting next month. So that's what I finished this week. I haven't decided if I'm going to do this kind of wrap up or a vlog next week. We will see. I do have a number of books going, but there you go. If you want to see everything that I'm currently reading, please look down below in the box. I'll divide it all up so you can see what my main reads are, what my book, you know, everything that way. And if you want to join in on Bandit Queens, it's not too late. Just as I said, there's 3 options. You can just join in Discord. You don't have to let me know. There's information how to join my Discord down below as well. Send me your Storygraph name if you want to do it on Storygraph, and let me know if you want to do it on Boxer, because they all work. And yeah, so I am going to let y'all go. I kept this under half an hour, and I don't even think I have that much to edit. Wow. And again, sorry for the noises, but that's going to be my weekend. And please keep me in your thoughts that I don't have to drug my cat. Thank you very much. Like, subscribe, join my Discord, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.